Hello. So this will be a pretty quick word because I'm making dinner, so I don't have my typical hours time to make a message. But the Lord just gave me this message about 10 minutes ago, and He was showing me, He said, you're rich in spirit and they're poor in spirit. And then He was speaking to me about Robin Hood and about how Robin Hood would steal from the rich to give to the poor type of a thing, right? Now that's not what God was doing per se necessarily, but kind of. You were rich in spirit, so He was taking from you to give to those that are poor in spirit, okay? So these people probably had more money than you, but they weren't as rich in inner currency in the spirit as you are. Just one sec. Sorry, that's my son. They weren't as rich in the spirit as you are, right? So God God had you give away. In some cases they stole, and in some cases you lent it. And when we lend, we give something temporarily and it comes back to us. It's not theirs, right? In other cases you gave. So like a gift, you gave your spirit to some of these people that came against you. You came into agreement with giving it away to them to not have it returned, just give it. In other cases, you lent it to them and it's going to be coming back to you if it hasn't already. And in other cases, they stole it, right? Illegally stole it. But either way, the Lord allowed this to happen intentionally. The Lord took from you your inner currency, your inner riches, and gave to them your inner riches. So what this looks like is, say it was easy for you to come across job opportunities, just say for an example, and these other people not so much, right? When you guys intermingled in each other's lives, when they were in your life and you're in theirs, and again, this isn't everyone that was in your life, this could even be just through third parties, right? Influence. Your spirit rubbed off on them and transferred. You had, like, imagine they have 1 cup of water and you have 10 cups of water inside, not outside, not externally. I'm talking about internally. They were poor inside and in spirit. You were rich inside and in spirit. So because you had plenty to give, to spare, these people are walking around with a cup, some of them a half a cup, some of them hardly any. You had 10 cups, so you had it in spades. And that was the thing that, well, one of many things that made them jealous and envious of you, they just didn't realize, was your inner qualities. So you may have been attractive, but they just thought, well, if I look better than him or her, if I make more money than him or her, if I drive a better vehicle than him or her, then I've surpassed them. But they found that while they were doing these things, they weren't surpassing you. And in actuality, if anything, you were still either staying afloat with them or surpassing them in various ways. Maybe not financially or physically, but internally and in other ways, right? Because that's why, is because they had a cup or a half a cup and you had 10 cups inside, and they couldn't put their finger on it. They knew it was something inside of you, but they didn't know what. They thought it was because you talked more eloquently, so they tried to talk better. They thought it's because you knew about certain subjects or studied certain things, so they studied those things. And this is how the copying came into effect, was that they were trying to take whatever it was that you had the advantage of, or they perceived, and multiply that for themselves, so they had that very thing, right? But the Lord is saying they could never quite get the alchemization right, and that's correct, because it was from the very beginning, they only had the cup or the half a cup, and you had the 10 cups. So because of this, the Lord allowed there to be this transferring where you went without. So maybe, like I said, the job example, job opportunities started to dry up for you, even though they were very plentiful in the past. They started to dry up for you. Meanwhile, you're starting to see also at the same exact time, simultaneously, these people that were struggling with jobs, all of a sudden they have jobs, and they're good jobs and lots of opportunities. And you're like, wow, that's weird that I had all this and they had hardly any, and now I'm the one with hardly any and they have lots. The Lord allowed a switch to happen. Some of these people tried to perform a switch themselves, but they had nothing to do with it. The Lord did this, allowed and oversaw and permitted this switch, okay? say another example, just for example, say you were able to attract a member of the opposite sex very easily, right? It was very easy for you to come across people that you could date or were interested in you. You had a lot of dating options. Maybe these people that surrounded you didn't. The Lord switched that to where they borrowed or stole from you, and the Lord permitted it. Some of your charisma, some of your personality, your bright light, etc. These qualities that attracted people to you, because they were taking it from you in the past, you had less. So therefore, maybe your options or your availabilities dried up, and you notice this, but theirs multiplied, and they noticed this as well. And this factor is what allowed them to come against you tenfold, is because they thought that either their stealing was working, or they started to realize, because they didn't know they were taking from you, God did the take, like had you give up and had them take. They saw this switch where they knew you always to have extra and them have less. Now they saw you with less and them with extra. And so whether it was scenario A or scenario B is irrelevant. This fact in and of itself caused them to feel like they had some sort of upper hand on you, and they never did, because you came by it organically. The Lord took from you to either give or share to them, or in some cases they stole from you, right? Either way, the Lord did this intentionally because he wanted you to see and appreciate what you had, what he had gifted you with and given to you from the very beginning, that you always had all along, that was yours to keep. He wanted you to not necessarily be grateful for it, but mostly just to see it for what it really was. And then with these people, he wanted them to see what they needed to work on, right? So this, in the Lord's eyes, this served a dual purpose. Now, this was a temporary arrangement. They want this to continue. They loved this. If they stole and received, or if they didn't do any of it deliberately, but through the Lord's plan, they received stuff from you and simultaneously saw you go with less. Either way, if they're in the former or the latter, they loved this, because not only did it boost them in ways that they hadn't ever had naturally in their life, but they also got to see you going with less, without, right? So they always knew you to have a spouse or a partner and to have a love interest, say, and they maybe didn't, and now they're getting to see you without a love interest or partner, but they have lots. Or maybe they saw you with lots of job opportunities, you got to take your pick, and they were envious of that, and they struggled to find a job, but now they have any job they want at their fingers, and you're the one going without finances. Do you know what I'm saying? But the Lord is saying, too bad, too sad. Too bad, so sad. This was a temporary thing. It was never supposed to be a permanent arrangement. It was a lesson to teach them a lesson, and a lesson to teach you a lesson, because what happens is that the people that stole this from you, the Lord's going to take it back from them, because he didn't, thou shalt not steal, right? He allowed them to steal, but he's going to judge them for that. So those that stole these things from you, and again, these aren't just these couple examples, there's several. I could spend an hour talking about all the different examples, right? But those that stole things from you maliciously, the Lord's going to snatch them back from them and give them back to you, their rightful owner. And so they had 1 cup and you had 10. They stole from you, giving themselves, say, 6 cups, and then that would leave you with 4. Now they're the ones in the abundance of those qualities, and you're at the lack, right? And they thought that this was funny. So the Lord's going to take back the 6 cups and put them back with you where they originally came from, where they were the rightful owner, and restore that, and then they're going to go back to their 1 cup that they originally had. No different than, say, if you don't have a car and you go and steal someone's car, the police will catch up with you, give that car back to the owner, and you're still without a car, right? Plus a punishment on top of it for the fact that you stole because you broke a law. Well, same thing, these people broke spiritual laws. So there's going to be a punishment for them, and the Lord is restoring and restituting what they did. So they're going to go right back to where they were, and you're going to go right back to where you were, because it was just a temporary arrangement. And this served its purpose because it showed these people what it's like to have light in their life. They've never had that. To have, natural talents and natural skills and abilities. They never had that. So now they have something to aspire to, if they choose to. You don't know what it's like to be rich unless you are rich. You don't know what it's like to be hungry unless you are hungry. It's kind of like that thing. Like, they don't know what it's like to be on the good side of things or in the receiving side of things when they've always had lack, right? And so because the Lord allowed this as a just equalization, because you had so much, they had so little, just to give them an advantage, but it wasn't to keep that advantage going or to keep you in a lesser position. It was to afford them the ability to see what they could achieve on their own, right? No different than going back to the car example. Somebody doesn't need to steal a car. If they just go get a good job or go back to school and get an education and career, they can make enough money to buy that same car themselves, or a better car, right? You don't have to steal somebody else's. People understand you don't have a car, but there's other ways to go about getting a car, right? Stealing is just a quick fix, but you can take the organic, natural, legal way and achieve that blessing for yourself in your own right? Same idea. So now, say the person that stole the car, now they know what it's like to drive a luxury automobile, like a nice automobile. Maybe that will inspire them to try and prosper themselves so that they can afford a vehicle or get a vehicle like that one day in their life too, right? Maybe not, but maybe, right? That was the allowance portion. Now, when it comes to those who you gave or lent to, if you lent to them, it's the same thing. It's just going to come back to you, but they won't have any consequences because you agreed. When we lend our car to somebody, they're not stealing it. We're allowing them to take it. We know they're bringing it back, right? So same thing, it's going to come restored and restituted back to you, its rightful owner, because it was just on loan, okay? And they won't have a consequence. For those that you gifted it to, you came into the agreement with and gifted it to, they're not going to give it back to you, and they're going to get to keep it, just like a gift. If you give someone a car, they get to keep it. There's no loan, there's no theft. You gave it to them as a gift, free and clear, right? So you may not, when it's all said and done, you may not have all the cups that you originally had. Oh no, the Lord is saying you will, because he's saying that, say you had 10 and you gave away 3 for an example, and then 3 were stolen and 2 were lent out, which would be 8, and then leaving you with 2. Because of the fact that you went through what you did and you gifted some of your cups away and you loaned some out in good faith, the Lord is going to give you back 15. So you're going to get your 10 back originally that you started with, plus 5 more for your troubles, right? That's what restitution is. When somebody commits, in our natural world, when someone commits a crime against someone, they can receive restitution, right, as a victim of a crime, which means they get back what they had, plus some reimbursement of some sorts, right? And if it doesn't go to them, that person pays back the city or the country or province or state they live in by going and serving time or community service or something like that, which is also a form of restitution, right? So not only are you punished for your crime, but there's usually, depending on what it is, a tag attached of restitution as well, whether it be to that victim personally or just to the house. And in this case, the house would be God. So these people that stole from you unrighteously, they're either going to pay you back, like you're going to get back what they stole and they're going to go without, but that's not where it stops. They're also getting a punishment for it, and they're going to have to restitute back to you. And if it doesn't go to you directly, it'll go to God. Either way, the Lord is saying there has to be restitution and reparations for what they did, okay? For those that you knowingly lent your energy to, and you came into an agreement with them that it was on loan, they're going to give it back to you, so they'll go without it and you'll receive it back, but they're not going to be in any consequence with anything over that, because it was an agreement between you, them, and God. And those that you gifted it to, you also came in agreement with God, and God knew that those people needed it, right? No different than you may gift a vehicle to someone that badly needs it out of the kindness of your heart, right? And for that good deed, the Lord is going to give you extra for that as well. So The takeaway from this message is that you're going to get back everything that you gave out and then some, so you'll be made whole with what you originally had and then some, so it actually works out in your favor in the end. These people that you gave this energy to in all three cases, stole, gave, or lent, they all benefited from your energy, okay? And the reason the Lord allowed this was because you had it in overflow, and you're gonna go back to in overflow. So they didn't permanently keep it, they didn't permanently take it away from you. This whole thing was a temporary situation coming to a close in and of itself, right? And those that stole it, you'll get it back from. Those that you gave it will go off with it. They needed it maybe more than you did. Just like if you're rich and own 4 vehicles, someone that doesn't have a vehicle at all probably needs it more than you do, right? So some of these people, there were things about you that they lacked that you didn't lack. You had plenty of. And again, I'm speaking internally. And you gave that to them. Say, for example, you had a ton of confidence, right? Maybe your confidence has been down for the last XYZ amount of time, but you notice that those that lacked confidence that you knew for years in your past, they suddenly had a boost of confidence. Yeah, that's because they received it from you. That was not, a figment of your imagination. Yes, the Lord took your overflow of confidence, and some people stole it from you, some people you lent it to, and some people you gifted it to, and they benefited off that in their own ways at that time, and you went without. You suffered like a lack of confidence during a portion of time. But the Lord is saying that this was intentional because those that stole that confidence now see how badly they really needed that, and how bad they need it in life, and how much they can benefit if they go and harvest it themselves, right? And those that you lent it to are going to give it back to you, but you've at least shown them and taught them how to go about achieving it for themselves so they can have it on their own. No different than if you lend a car out, someone drives it, they know what they want, what kind of car they want, or what they like and don't like in their next vehicle shop, and they'll put that into motion, right? It benefited them. Those that you gifted it to, now they have that. Now they have that confidence, and it's going to allow them to make better moves in life, and they sorely needed it, and you had it to spare, right? And maybe you went in lack of it for a while, but the Lord's restoring it back where it was, plus some. And that's just one example. There's sensitivity, creativity, understanding, nurturing, compassion. I could go on and on. There's tons and tons of qualities that you had as a child of God and chosen one that you received internally in overflow. And these people maybe had more on you, had more than you externally, but you had more than them internally. And that's why the Lord allowed that switcheroo and that exchange for a little while, because when you went without some of these things, it's what taught you that you did have them in the first place. Maybe you didn't think you had confidence, but then when it got taken from you, and you saw other people wearing it, you realized how much of it you once upon a time actually did have, right? And so when the Lord restores it back to you at the level it was, and then some, you're going to be far more appreciative of it. No different than if you have that car and you drive it every day for 2 years and you're like, dumb car, and you're kicking it and you wish it was new and all this, and someone steals it, you're like, I want my car back, where's my car? And then when your car is retrieved and comes back to you, you're grateful for your car, right? You didn't realize how grateful you were for it until you were on foot while it was stolen, right? But then when you get it back, you're grateful you get it back because now you don't have to walk. So same idea goes, is that going without these things is what will show you how like gratitude of how lucky you are to have these things, and gratitude towards the Lord, and being thankful for these little things that we take for granted, that we don't, like our car, we take it for granted, we take things inside of us for granted, and they're truly blessings in and of their own right. The world likes to say only things that cost money and have a big price tag are blessings, but in actuality, the things that we've cultivated on the inside of us actually are priceless and cost the most currency, right? Spiritual currency. And you don't realize how broke some people are in these aspects. They may look richer than you on the outside, but inside they're broke. And you may feel broke on the outside, but inside you're rich. And so because of that, the Lord had you give away some of your internal riches to these other people around you. And like I said, it was to show them how broke they are inside and how much they need to work on their own riches. And also taught you a lesson as to how rich you truly are at the end of the day, despite how broke you may feel. So anyways, I hope that made sense. I hope I explained it well. And I know the Lord will lead the right ones to this at the right time. Take care and God bless.